June 1969, New York City. A routine raid on the gay bar called the Stonewall turns into a riot. Police are attacked with bottles, rocks, and firebombs.
June 1994, New York City. 25 years later, lesbians and gays from every state and 100 countries fill the streets and stadiums.
The riot makes national headlines. Radical gay organizations form overnight, and a movement is born.
25 years later, hundreds of organizations flood to New York to attend a week of marches, meetings, sports events, and vigils.
An era of gay pride begins.
And 25 years later, I'm here in front of the United Nations as hundreds of thousands are marching to mark a quarter century of history.
This is Sheridan Square, in the heart of New York's historic Greenwich Village, the home of the famous Stonewall Inn. Hello, everybody. I'm Garrett Glaser.
And I'm Katherine Linton. In 1969, the Stonewall was the largest gay establishment in a city where all gay bars were officially illegal. Even with regular payoffs to the police, the bars were subject to frequent raids meant to harass and intimidate the patrons.
In 1969, gay men and lesbians faced a threatening society. Homosexuality was a crime, a sin, and as defined by psychiatrists, a mental disorder. If arrested in a raid, a gay person could lose his or her job and home, family love and support. It's no wonder most gay people stayed firmly in the closet.
The riot at the Stonewall Inn was the first violent response to the treatment of gays and lesbians. It began a new era of activism as gays and lesbians organized, demonstrated, and came out. 25 years later, the word Stonewall is part of every gay person's vocabulary. It's a metaphor for pride and visibility.
Today, a massive march winds its way from the United Nations to a rally in Central Park. It's an historic reminder of how far the gay community has come.
One of the most important developments coming from Stonewall was the realization that there was a gay community with shared experiences and history. This history is now being documented, and the field of gay studies is growing by leaps and bounds. Eric Marcus went to a groundbreaking exhibit of gay history, the first of its kind, at the New York Public Library.
Imagine for a minute that it's 1969, just after the Stonewall riots, and you decide you want to learn something about homosexuality. Well, if you lived in New York, you'd come here to the New York Public Library at 5th Avenue and 42nd Street. But if you looked in the card catalog, you wouldn't have found much of anything, and what you found would have made your hair stand on end. A lot's changed in 25 years. For one thing, you won't find a card catalog here. But if you punch the word homosexuality into a computer terminal, what you will find are all kinds of resources, from gay history to lesbian fiction. And if you're lucky enough to get here before the end of September, you'll also find an extraordinary exhibit called Becoming Visible. Two curators who worked on the exhibit are Mimi Bowling and Molly McGarry.
It's always been part of the mission of the library to document society in all of its manifestations, concentrically out from New York City.
It's been years in the making. A couple of years back, a group of people involved with a number of cultural institutions around New York got together and realized that the 25th anniversary of Stonewall provided a wonderful reason to do a large history of lesbian and gay life in New York.
Becoming Visible covers a century of gay and lesbian life, including Stonewall, social activities, and our lives together.
My favorite section is Friends and Lovers, which is this incredibly wonderful group of very rare photographs of sort of same-sex couples through the ages, and they're just very sweet.
The exhibit also documents the rich history of the gay and lesbian rights movement.
For lesbians and gay men to know that they've had this long, proud history of 100 years is incredibly important politically.
Long before the New York Public Library began archiving materials on gays and lesbians, gay men and women themselves began collecting whatever they could get their hands on.
The early work was the work of isolated individuals like Jim Kepner and Foster Gunnison. And then post-Stonewall, it's Joan Nessel and Deborah Adele who began Lesbian Her Stories, essentially out of their own apartment.
The archives grew out of a women's caucus and a consciousness-raising group. This is all language of the 70s, you know, of the Gay Academic Union that met in 1972. And we were concerned then that the markings of lesbian history were going to be lost.
More than a few authors and historians have made use of these archives in writing gay and lesbian history. In the 1970s, documentaries like German filmmaker Rosa von Praunheim's Army of Lovers brought the gay and lesbian movement to life.
This is what we've been waiting for.
Then, in the 1980s, before Stonewall, brought the early history of the movement to a national audience. Learning about gay and lesbian history also takes place in the classroom. Martin Duberman is one of the academic pioneers who led the way.
Recently, I was at Allegheny College, and it's in Meadersville, Pennsylvania, a very small conservative town. And this fall, they will have a minor in gay and lesbian studies.
25 years ago, there was no place for us to explore our history, whether it was in libraries, museums, or even in books. Thankfully, that's a long time ago. Today, whether you live in New York City, or in Indianola, Iowa, or San Francisco, where a new gay and lesbian center is opening in 1996, we can find that history and embrace it as our own. I'm Eric Marcus for In the Life.
In 1977, after 4 tries, Harvey Milk became San Francisco's first openly gay supervisor. Known as the Mayor of Castro Street, Milk devoted his life to lesbian and gay rights and the rights of all minorities. He led the passage of a gay civil rights bill for San Francisco and was instrumental in the defeat of one of the first anti-gay initiatives. After only 11 months in office, he was assassinated by fellow supervisor Dan White. His early death was and still is a great loss.
In 1977, Quebec became the first province in Canada to pass laws protecting its gay and lesbian citizens against discrimination.
And in 1982, Wisconsin became the first U.S. state to pass a gay rights statute.
The first time that same-sex marriages were legally sanctioned anywhere in the world was in Copenhagen, Denmark, in 1989.
Possibly in Germany we have a more, as I call it, semi-liberal situation, and here in the States you have more extremes, possibly extreme repression, extreme struggle for freedom, and so in Germany people think everything is fine and they just escape into techno discos and take ecstasy and think they don't really need to fight for gay rights, and just enjoy the gay ghettos in the big cities, and I think there still has to be done a lot. I mean, and especially now with neo-Nazis and the new conservative right who is moving in Germany very fast. I think we have to really go on, and otherwise all our freedoms are taken away soon.
The
The feeling here today is incredible. There's a true sense of unity. There are representatives from over 70 nations. They're all here to call upon the UN to extend the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to include lesbian, gay, drag, and transgender people, as well as people living with AIDS and HIV. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights was first adopted by the General Assembly in 1948.
It's a historical moment in our time where people have stood up against the injustice in society towards gays and lesbians and bisexuals. And so it gives me a chance to be here with my partner and to hold him and give him a kiss. That's what it means to me.
Stonewall means a lot to me. It makes me feel that I'm not alone, that there are a lot of people just like me that have similar feelings to me, and it's a really great experience to know that.
One of the many events happening during Stonewall 25 is the annual conference of the International Lesbian and Gay Association, or ILGA. It's comprised of organizations from 60 countries, and regularly it compiles this pink book, which documents human rights abuses against lesbians and gays around the world.
While there have been tremendous gains in acceptance and visibility in many countries, harsh persecution persists elsewhere. In our next report, Alan Tulin looks at the state of the gay community worldwide, the very serious human rights abuses, as well as hopeful signs of improvement.
While lesbians and gays have seen impressive gains in acceptance and visibility in the West, in many parts of the world they face harassment, violence, and death. In Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, same-sex partnerships are legally recognized. Yet in Central and Latin America, gay men are routinely targeted by death squads.
2 years before I came over here, I was raped by a cop and beaten just because I sat in the car. I sat in the park.
In Romania, Amnesty has documented the torture and imprisonment of gay men, and this is a routine practice. Gay men are hauled into the police stations and tortured sometimes for between 5 and 13 hours until they're just absolutely mutilated.
In Turkey, the newspapers are allowed to write everything about homosexuals, like they are abnormal, they are disgusting, they are sick, and I didn't want to put my mother in a bad situation. She herself was accused of lesbianism once in the newspapers, but when I told her I was gay, when I came over here, she couldn't accept me, and she said that I was very disgusting and unbelievable creature.
Amnesty International has concerns about human rights abuses against gay men and lesbians in the United States. We are particularly concerned about discriminatory sodomy laws, which outlaw all acts of gay or lesbian sex, even when they occur between consensual adults in private.
Really, the fight for gay and lesbian rights is a local fight in that discrimination, rights violations, and abuses are committed by police, by paramilitary forces, and by armies at the local level. And only at that level can groups organize and act effectively against it, and with outside support through letters, through protest actions at the international level, and through pressure on governments, can they really affect change at that basic level where the rights violations and the discrimination really occurs.
In recent years, local organizations and magazines have begun to promote gay and lesbian culture in countries where there had been little or no mention of it. In India, for example, Bombay Dost works to promote the awareness of gay and lesbian concerns.
There are two specific successes that I'd also like to highlight. The first one is in South Africa, where the new constitution has explicit protections for gay and lesbian civil rights. And the second one is a decision that was made by the United Nations Human Rights Committee regarding the Australian state of Tasmania. And the Human Rights Committee, for the first time, decided that sodomy laws, which outlaw any homosexual acts between consenting adults in private, are a violation of the fundamental right to privacy.
When I came here, I was very surprised that there was Gay Pride Day, and gay marches, and I really liked to attend that marches, and I was very happy to see all these people who are sharing same faith with me. And a friend of mine told me that there was going to be a Stonewall celebration, and I investigated about this, and I really liked the idea, and I was very glad that I was going to go and participate with them, because in Turkey I don't think we ever do that, not even think about it.
While gays and lesbians have good reason to celebrate how far they've come, they recognize how far they have to go. At the United Nations for In the Life, I'm Alan Tulin.
In July of 1993, the International Lesbian and Gay Association became the first group of its kind to be officially recognized by the United Nations.
In 1975, David Copé proved himself one of the toughest football players ever when he became the first professional athlete to come out of the closet.
Well, England doesn't believe in sex, and since my identity was of sexual ambiguity, you see, you could have made a list of occupations, hobbies, clothes, gestures, vocabularies that were suitable for a man. And you could have made another list that was suitable for a woman. And I couldn't be bothered with the distinction between the two. And I brought down the barriers between the sexes. And that worried the English, because they like it tidy. You see, in America, you can do fame. You can't do that in other countries. You have to do something well enough, or at least for long enough, to become famous. But in New York, you just do fame. It's a career in itself. In your lifetime, a degree will be offered by universities. And people will say, well, I majored in fame, actually. People ask me whether I'm stared at as much in New York as in London. And I say there's nothing you can wear in the district where I live which would make you remarkable. On St. Mark's Place, I'm dowdy.
We're here where practice is about to begin for Team New York Aquatics, a group of men and women who are training to compete in this year's Gay Games 4.
The first one is easy, hard. The second one is hard, easy. The third one, easy, easy. The fourth, hard, hard.
With more than 200 swimmers, Team New York Aquatics is now the largest masters team in New York, and they are recognized as world-class competitors.
Team New York Aquatics is open to everyone of all abilities, all races, and all ages, and we like everyone to consider even learning swimming with us in the pool as a masters team, and not to be discouraged at all by the concept of competitive swimming on a national level.
We're all abilities, from people who just learned to swim and have learned how to get up and down the pool and do all 4 strokes, to a few ex-Olympians. And in fact, we've got a gold medal Olympian on our team.
That gold medal Olympian is Bruce Hayes, who won his gold in the 800-meter freestyle relay in the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles.
The Olympics, for me, was really a pressure cooker. I mean, I felt so much pressure on me when I got there that it was hard for me to enjoy it until after I'd already competed. And the Gay Games was really the opposite. I was trying to do the best I could, but I didn't feel so much pressure. And I also felt that it was the first time in my athletic career, really, when I was out, and that made a lot of difference. It took a lot of the energy that I spent staying in the closet I could spend enjoying myself.
That was nice. For the swimmers, being part of Team New York Aquatics goes far beyond doing laps.
Being on the gay team is great. It's very freeing. There's a lot of positive energy. I love swimming with these guys. They're wonderful, and the bonding is an amazing experience.
To be completely chauvinistic about it, there are times when you just understand better what it's like being a gay man or a lesbian, and you can kind of get support from your teammates in ways that might not always be there if you were swimming on a mixed or straight team, supposedly straight team.
For HIV-positive swimmers, it means that we have coaches who are aware that we are HIV positive, that we have special needs, that we have good days, that we have bad days, and that also, for someone who might have KS lesions, that it takes a tremendous amount of courage to take off your clothes and put on a swimsuit and get in the pool.
The purpose of the Gay Games is to foster adult participation in sports and to do one's personal best, goals that the U.S. Olympic Committee agrees with wholeheartedly. But the Gay Games' relationship with the U.S. Olympic Committee has been until recently very rocky.
When we first heard about this event way back in early 1982, they were calling it the Gay Olympic Games. And that created a big uproar. How dare Tom Waddell, a U.S. Olympic decathlete, incorporate the word Olympic into this gay and lesbian event? The U.S. Olympic Committee thought that was just terrible, and in fact took Tom Waddell and the Gay Games people to court to deny them the right of the use of the word Olympic. And it went all the way to the Supreme Court, became a 5-4 split decision, in fact, and Tom, by the time that happened, felt like it just exposed the pettiness and silliness of the whole issue, that they would take an event like this that actually meets almost all of the goals and more of the Olympic movement and try and deny us the use of a word.
By 1994, the Gay Games have grown in international stature and have overtaken the Olympics in size and scope.
I think that it becoming international is fabulous. It's really wonderful. And then they can meet each other and see how we are different throughout, the world, or how we are the same and how the issues can be similar or different. And it's very, very interesting and fascinating and exciting.
It's just been completely positive. All the fears I think that we have when we're in the closet, all the bad, terrible things that we think are going to happen, for me, those fears got so large that I think if it hadn't been for the games, I would probably still be in the closet. So I thank God for the Gay Games, and I really do feel like it's changed my life completely.
The first performer to come out on a record was Charles Valentine Harris in 1975 on a disco single called I Was Born This Way. The song became a #1 single in London. Today, more and more openly gay people in the record industry enjoy thriving careers, including Melissa Etheridge, K.D. Lang, Elton John, and Janis Ian.
Visibility. Coming out remains a powerful tool in the movement for gay civil rights. Polls show that straight people become more tolerant of homosexuality once they personally know someone who's gay.
It was out of the spirit of visibility that the Gay Games were begun in 1982. The purpose was simple, to create a sports event where athletes could compete as openly gay people. In the homophobic world of sports, it was a unique creation.
This June, the 4th Gay Games and Cultural Festival was held in New York City. It was national news, covered alongside the World Cup on major networks and even on ESPN. Correspondent Judy Nelson looked at the games from the stands and on the fields of dreams.
Hi, I'm Judy Nelson. and this is the fourth incarnation of the Gay Games, a celebration of athletics and community that has taken place every 4 years since 1982. This year's games are the largest ever, with almost 11,000 athletes from 44 countries participating in 31 different events in locations all over New York City. To put those numbers in perspective, the 1992 Summer Olympics involved about 10,500 participants. In fact, the Gay Games are the world's largest competitive athletic competition. A small miracle, considering the Games come together on just a fraction of the money and the staff of the Olympics.
It's really hard to compare this kind of undertaking with an Olympic Games or even a Pan American Games or something like that, because in all honesty, the financial wherewithal and the resources that those people have in terms of personnel is immensely vast, and that's what has made this Games, I think, such a roaring success, that we've been able to allow this many athletes to compete and do the things they're good at while not having the full-time staff that a similar sports event would have, and that's a real tip of the hat to our volunteers.
And the competition is stiff. At the 1990 Games in Vancouver, 2 world records were broken. This year, several more have been broken.
In the first 3 days, we had 7 world records topple, and we've had several more the last couple of days. We've had immense spectator numbers for swimming and for diving with the exhibitions with Greg Louganis. Figure skating has been very popular here. The physique finals nearly sold out the Paramount Theater at Madison Square Garden. We've had over 800 tennis players registered in what may be the largest tennis tournament in the history of the world.
I think the level of competition is very high, but it's also very broad. There's a lot of folks who are making their first jump into the pool or first competition in basketball, whatever. It's got everything from first-timers to elite athletes.
We've really rewritten the record books in a lot of the age groups here, and I think that's really going to lend a lot of credibility to the Gay Games and really put this event on the map in the sports world.
But the Gay Games are also about community and the simple joys of competition. In conversations with competitors here this week, David Serber found out that there are no losers at the Gay Games.
The beauty of the Games is that you don't have to be a world-class competitor to enjoy yourself. Because so many gays and lesbians live in relative isolation from each other, just the simple act of coming together is by itself a powerful event.
You don't have to hide anything, and in elite sports, you know, for me, I was told a lot of times to keep things under the wing, and here I can be whoever I want, and that actually makes me feel better about my performance.
It feels very exciting to be here. I've worked for the last year. I never played water polo before August. I've swam my whole life, so it's kind of exciting being in an event.
We got creamed. But we've only been learning the rules for about the last 8 weeks.
But we're going to play the team we played yesterday, we're going to play them in rugby on Friday. So we'll probably get some revenge then, hopefully.
But it's really important to say that, like, one of the biggest things about Australia is you always have a go. It doesn't matter, you know, what the odds are, you always have a go. So we wanted to come and have a go, even though it was your rules and we had to learn those rules. You know, we had a lot of fun. We had a great time.
The largest events in terms of registered participants included the aquatics events, softball, volleyball, and at the same venue used for the U.S. Open, tennis.
Volleyball is the largest sport of Gay Games. It's about 1,350 athletes. There are 165 teams participating. I think probably 30 to 40% of our teams are from other countries.
Not everyone here in New York is competing. Many people came just to cheer on friends and lovers who were entered in the events.
She's here for 3 days, but I was trying to bribe her to stay for the extra so she could stay for closing ceremonies, you know, but being the responsible people that we are, she's got to go back to work.
I'd love to stay, honey. I really would. You know that.
I know.
I just decided I wanted to volunteer. I had gone to Washington, and I thought that was great last year, and I just thought I wanted to be a part of it.
But sometimes it's the events that happen off the field which leave the most lasting image.
I was taking pictures of riders warming up and getting up to the start-finish line, and I turned around and I noticed that all these guys were lounging around in each other's arms and being patted, and it was such a good feeling because it was so relaxed and it felt so real that I said, hey, wait a minute, I'm not taking any more pictures of the race. I'm going to take photos of you guys. And so I said, you don't get to I've never seen this at a bike race before. It's really a great feeling.
Gay Games, did you play anything this week or watch anything?
They did not have my event.
And?
It was channel surfing. And I don't think there'll ever be lesbians on TV. I'm like, no lesbians? What about Wimbledon?
At the Gay Games 4, I'm Judy Nelson.
Martina and tennis and women, it's a love match. Martina Navratilova, who came out publicly as early as 1981, is the greatest woman tennis player that ever lived, and a lesbian icon.
When I get all these accolades for everything that I have given, being true to myself, I say, who else would I be?
While winning more Wimbledon titles than any player in the world, she's also become an advocate for progressive causes, especially lesbian and gay rights.
Let's come out and dispel the rumors and lies that are being spread about us. Let's come out and set everybody straight, so to speak.
The stage and screen have always showcased transgender characters, but 1982 was a big year for us in Hollywood. At the Academy Awards, 3 nominations went to actors who played cross-gendered roles.
Dustin Hoffman was nominated that year for Tootsie, Julie Andrews for her work in Victor Victoria, and John Lithgow for his role as transsexual Roberta Muldoon in The World According to Garp. And the next year, 1983, Linda Hunt won Best Supporting Actress for her role as a man in The Year of Living Dangerously.
Along with coordinating the largest sports event ever, the Gay Games organized a huge cultural festival as well. It brought together hundreds of performers from all over the world.
The arts not only reflect society, but also shape it. Only 10 years ago, gays and lesbians were virtually invisible in music, movies, and TV. But as the Stonewall civil rights movement matured, more and more artists have made their sexuality an integral part of their public persona and work.
Now, lesbians and gay men show up everywhere in the media. They're an undeniable part of the cultural landscape. Greg Watt reports on arts, artists, and identity at the Cultural Festival.
It was one of the hottest tickets in town, and no wonder. A world premiere performance by cutting-edge and openly gay choreographer Bill T. Jones, here at Manhattan City Center.
But for Bill T. Jones, the week actually began at opening ceremonies. In a reading that electrified his audience, Jones tapped into the anger and energy of the drag queens who began it all at Stonewall. A mantra, he calls it, for how to be whole and how to heal.
They think we're bad. Well, let's say, what does it really mean to be bad? I ain't got to do nothing but stay gay and die.
That energy, that defiance, is at the core of the Bill T. Jones Arnie Zane Dance Company, whose dancers are as diverse as the community for which this week they performed.
We are big and varied, and what I was trying to do in the speech and what I'm trying to do this week is love us.
And to keep looking forward. It is something the dancer, who is HIV positive, accepts as a challenge.
I don't know if it's denial or what have you, but I continue with my hopes and dreams for a future intact. That's the first rule. If it's hypnotism, whatever you have to do, behave as if you will be here. Then, if death comes tomorrow, I don't feel cheated. No, I refuse to feel cheated. I'm at the banquet now.
His message to the new lesbian and gay generation? Get a life education, do what you love, and be who you are, completely.
So even to a 19-year-old, I say, you got the responsibility of your own future. And you don't have to be a victim.
Another of the week's cultural events was months in the making. Imagine the logistics involved in bringing musicians together from 23 bands across the country. But that's just what the Lesbian and Gay Bands of America did for a concert that included dancers from San Francisco and a joint appearance with New York's Stonewall Chorale. And theaters all over town were alive with lesbian and gay culture too, from Tony Kushner's Angels in America on Broadway to Nicky Parizzo's one-man off-Broadway show, Asian Boys, growing up gay in Queens.
Be proud, pair with the whites. Be humble. I will not be put down, my mother said to me. Don't ever let them put you down.
And you can learn a lot about the history of our community without ever setting foot inside a museum. All month long, the Stonewall celebration has brought lesbian and gay culture out into the street. Christopher Street. Over 24 merchants donated window space to help local artists celebrate the politics and culture of the movement. From lesbian pulp novels dating back to the 1930s, to physique magazines from the 50s, one of the few places in that anxious era where gay men could see images that spoke to them. It was a week when we were everywhere. And while we can only share a sample of the dance, the music, and the stage, one thing's for sure. It was a week to kick up our heels and celebrate being ourselves.
And he'll have fun, 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 for he's absolutely certain. Fun, 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 cause he's always out there flirting. Fun, 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 now that everyone is certain that he's gay.
The first American gay chorus was the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus, founded in 1979.
The first gay arts center in the United States was founded in 1976 in New York and was called the Glines.
The first openly gay stand-up comic to perform on television was Robin Tyler, a lesbian who appeared on the first annual Funny Women's Show in 1978.
We are sisters and sisters, brothers and brothers, workers and lovers. We are together, we are marching.
One headline performance for the Gay Games Cultural Festival was Sir Ian McKellan in his new one-man show, A Night Out, a title which reveals a lot about the brilliant actor's life.
If that title has got any width to it at all, it is that it nicely encapsulates the two sides of my life. One is the mainstream actor who's pursued that career pretty heavily for the majority of his career, and the outside is the other side of me, which frankly is the main part of my life at the moment, the activist rather than the actor.
In 1991, Sir Ian became the first openly gay man to be knighted, and immediately put that honor to use for the gay and lesbian cause.
What a wonderful opportunity to use the knighthood, the stamp of the establishment's authority, against the establishment, and say, I am a gay man, you've given me a knighthood, why do you persist in having laws which discriminate against me and my brothers and sisters?
While Sir Ian has had numerous roles in his career, it is the role of activist that he most often plays now.
That the world is never going to be entirely reconciled to the existence of homosexuality until every lesbian and gay man in the world comes out and tells the truth about himself.
He does, however, realize the difficulty of being out for others in the entertainment industry.
Because they're under pressure from their agents and managers, and indeed the advertisers who present the commercials in between the shows they appear in on television, educate them to lie in order to perpetuate the bigger lie that we're all the same. Well, we're not all the same, we're all different, thank God. And it's the diversity of life which we should be celebrating, not the sameness.
Dear Ian, I'm a 53-year-old married man. My wife and I have shared everything, never had any secrets except for one. Since a very young age, 11 to 12 years, I have known that I felt different.
As for people younger than me, they probably have much less of a problem with being out, because the ground has been prepared for them by other people who they should respect and remember, and if they don't know anything about them, should learn about. And if they are boogieing down in the clubs and the bars and they think, what does it matter? What does the gay rights movement matter? Why should I contribute the odd dollar? Why should I go on the march? Why should I read a political paper from the gay point of view? Then they too are missing out, because there are millions of gays and lesbians in this country who are not lucky enough to go to clubs and bars, who daren't pick up your magazine, who feel they would be sacked from their job if it were known they were gay. And you only realize you've got a responsibility to those people who you'll never meet when you realize that you've got a responsibility to yourself. And that responsibility is to get out of the closet. And we all know it's not easy. But when you do, you'll find there are so many friends there to support you and help you. So that's my message.
Now we are shouting our own words. We are a community. We are a society. We are everyone. We are inside you. Remember all you were taught to forget. We are part of the new world.
From Sir Ian McKellan, from Bill T. Jones, that message, get out of the closet, was echoed from many a New York stage this week. Yet there are some performers who phrase the same message a bit differently, by making us laugh.
Hi, this is Chris Ann Eastwood, and we have gay comedy for you. Drum roll, please.
Happy gay everything here in New York. It's sort of like a gay La-Palooza.
Sure was. First stop, Outrageous Comedy 94, hosted by Sandra Bernhard.
So it's the gay games, huh? Is that what's happening in town? We come from places all over the United States. We gather together in New York City. Hi, honey. Hi, sweetie. Hi, baby. It's gay comedy. It's so fabulous, you know, and it's different from straight comedy. You know, straight comedy's like, good evening, ladies and germs. Take my wife, please. I'm like, okay.
So why is out comedy in? Kate Clinton says there's so much straight comedy on TV these days, people are looking for something different. And
I think that there's like this window of opportunity that's opened, probably because we have a president who can say lesbian without spitting up.
Kate's not complaining. While in town, she taped Comedy Central's second queer comedy special. And comedian Bob Smith is getting ready for a big month of July. Bob, you're going to be the first openly gay comedian on Network TV Tonight Show.
Paul Lynde was on in the 60s, but it doesn't count. I'm also doing an HBO special.
Bob Smith! My parents once said to me, Bob, we never suspected you were gay. Get real, they once bought me a chemistry set. I used it to make my own line of skincare products.
And he has an idea where queer comedy is going next.
Well, I think we're going to be like hip sitcoms, you know, there'll be the gay comedy channel. We'll be everywhere.
So watch out, world. There's no tuning us out. I'm Chris Ann Eastwood for In the Life.
In 1984, Harvey Fierstein won the Tony for Best Book of a Musical for La Cage aux Folles and set an example for gays and lesbians by thanking his lover on national television. Was that so wrong?
This past year, Tom Hanks won the Academy Award for Best Actor for his performance as a gay man in the film Philadelphia.
But he was not the first to win for playing such a role. In 1985, the Oscar was awarded for the portrayal of an openly gay window dresser. The actor was William Hurt, and the film was Kiss of the Spider Woman.
Harvey Fierstein has been an openly gay performer and playwright since the early 70s and has won 3 Tonys and 2 Drama Desk Awards, being his out and outrageous self.
If you see a picture of me in the paper with that person, then you know they're straight. Because other gay celebrities would not be anywhere near me.
He is best known for his Broadway play and movie Torch Song Trilogy, which tells a semi-autobiographical story of a drag queen performer who creates a world for himself and a world that rejects him.
The closet's a killer. The closet kills our freedom, kills our self-esteem, and ruins our lives.
Long before the formation of ACT UP and Queer Nation, other action-oriented gay organizations had already set the stage for fighting back. The Gay Liberation Front, the Gay Activists Alliance, born in the wake of the 1969 Stonewall riots, they paved the way for action in the name of gay and lesbian civil rights.
We started 11 years ago in Dublin, Ireland, as a result of youth getting together, students and younger people wanting to share information and to have resources available. And this will be our 11th time doing it. And we bring in people, about 100 people from 25 different countries worldwide. And it's a week-long event. And we talk about different issues. This year it will be in relationship to relationships in the community.
I'm 20 years old. So basically it started the gay rights movement before I was even born as a lesbian baby, you know? So it gave us a head start on finishing up what our older brothers and sisters started 25 years ago.
Today, it marks the beginning of what we fight for still, for equal rights. And today celebrates, you know, a time when we can, a time of hope for when we can actually walk down the street like this all the time. I don't know, I wasn't born when Stonewall happened either, but I'm glad it happened so I can be here now.
There are an enormous number of gay groups participating in today's march. There are 62 different contingents. There are international organizations, political organizations, cultural organizations, environmental organizations. There are groups of families, gays and lesbians marching with their kids, gays and lesbians marching with their parents. There's even a group marching to protest the march. This is truly a march that has something for everyone.
The main thing that got achieved by those riots is, in our minds, we thought, okay, we're here. That's it. We exist. We are not going to pretend we don't exist. We're not going to go to bars with darkened glass. We're not going to get out of taxi cabs and smuggle our way into places. This is us. Here we are.
In 1969, few places existed outside of the bars where gay people could congregate openly. A few pioneering pre-Stonewall groups, like the Mattachine Society and the Daughters of Bilitis, formed the beginnings of an organized gay community. But they existed for the most part in an underground network of hand-copied newsletters and secret meetings.
In the years after Stonewall, hundreds of organizations formed to attack the fundamental roots of homophobia in law, religion, and society. But they also help build a community. These groups affect not only how culture perceives lesbians and gay men, but how lesbians and gays perceive and define themselves. Our correspondent Darius DeHaas reports on how the post-Stonewall organizations are creating a sense of family.
Organizing is really the only way to affect social change in a long-term basis.
There's a level of credibility that our lesbian and gay community has nowadays that is directly proportional to the amount of organizations that exist.
Organizations bring to the energy and the passion of individuals a kind of concentration and direction.
The dictionary defines the term organizing as creating a structure for united action.
After the Stonewall riots, gay men and lesbians created more structure and more organizations to combat prejudice and strengthen self-esteem.
The positive parts of organizing in our community gives us a sense of belonging, gives us a sense of family, and in many instances, we as lesbian and gay people are ostracized from our families, or we don't have the opportunity to share and incorporate support systems that validate who we are as lesbian and gay people.
We really need to make sure that the gay and lesbian community gets organized in every city, every town, every state, and then nationally.
We began with the idea that by creating a political organization, that the civil rights of lesbians and gay men could be advanced and protected and defended. Very soon after the founding of the organization, the American Psychiatric Association repealed or reclassified homosexuality so that it was no longer considered an illness.
Other organizations which fight for political empowerment, visibility, and legal protection include Lambda Legal Defense and Education Fund, the Human Rights Campaign Fund, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, and the Victory Fund.
The mission of the Victory Fund is to endorse openly gay men and lesbians for public office, and that's local, state, and federal. We endorse only openly gay and lesbian candidates. When Gail Shibley won, she's in the state representative in Oregon. 2 other people out in Oregon came out of the closet. So it's very exciting. Once we show that you can win, you can run openly gay or lesbian, and you can win, we're going to have a lot more people out. So it's very exciting.
God is the joy and the strength of my life. He moves all pain, misery, and sorrow to keep rising.
We believe that God is very diverse, and that God reveals himself, herself in many different ways. Unity was founded in 1985 by its founder, Bishop Carl Bing. We have straight people in our congregation that know that we are African American lesbian and gays, and they attend basically because of the principles of spirituality that they hear.
We have people from every single Jewish background. In fact, we have more different kinds of Jews in our synagogue than I dare say in almost any other synagogue. We have Jews who come from Hasidic backgrounds, from Reform, Reconstructionist, Conservative, Orthodox, Atheist, secular, feminist, traditional. And we create a community in which we say, all of who you are is welcome.
Spiritually, emotionally, intellectually. The impact of volunteering spans many different levels. A large part of organizing people within the fight against AIDS is done by volunteers. We have volunteers of all ages, so there's a wide range of folks that work at the agency or work in the communities. Our volunteers are, the core and the foundation of the agency, and we wouldn't survive without them, and that's I think goes across the board for any AIDS-related agency.
There's a gay and lesbian organization for everybody from senior citizens to high schoolers to friends and relatives.
There was need to prepare parents to understand that there's nothing wrong with homosexuality, that it's people are the same in any way, in whatever they are, and diversity is good. The first meeting was in March 11th, 1973, and since that time it's been building up. It's become international now.
The gay and lesbian community is truly one of diversity. It includes people from different walks of life, different economic backgrounds, different racial and social strata, and different organizations exist for each and every one under the sun.
I think at Stonewall 50, 25 years from now, there will be a continuing need for the gay and lesbian community to be organized politically.
We need to integrate ourselves into mainstream American life And in 25 years, I think we'll be a long way towards that goal.
For Stonewall 50, I would like to see more straight people become involved. I'd like to see them march. I'd like to see them stuff envelopes. I'd like to see them participate, and to have a better knowledge and an awareness that, you know, we're not just talking about those people's rights. We're talking about everybody's right.
Because that's the only way we're going to survive as a community as we go into the 21st century. And things like the Lesbian and Gay People of Color Steering Committee, to me, things like the lesbian gay movement, to me, are the wave of our future as a general society.
3年前、東京の若いゲイグループが東京都を相手に訴訟を起こしました。今年3月、勝利判決が出たわけですが、訴訟自体非常に画期的な出来事だったわけです。この他にも映画祭は今年で3年目を迎えましたし、来たる8月には日本で初めてのプライドパレードが東京で実施されることになっています。
Audre Lorde was one of the most gifted writers of our time. She wrote numerous books of poetry and prose and co-founded Kitchen Table Press, the only publishing house for women of color.
I believe in poetry. I believe that all art makes us more powerfully who we wish to become.
Lorde passionately believed in the connection between art and politics.
Everything we do has got to contribute to the struggle, because everything they do is grinding us into dust, and we will not be ground.
The first writer to use the subject of AIDS in a work of fiction was Armistead Maupin in 1983, in his Tales of the City.
Over 500 people are participating with the March with a Buddy. Each person is carrying a photograph of a friend or loved one who has already died from AIDS or is too ill today to be here. Earlier today, I spoke to a few people who are marching in March with a Buddy.
I'm a volunteer, and we came from Atlanta to carry a sign for this man whose name is Bob. I don't know him, but I'm very honored to be a volunteer to do this today.
I'm marching for Tim Tiff from Sacramento, California. I see all my brothers and sisters here, you know, and remembering all the people who have died of this incredible disease, you know.
Hello, this is Ricky. This is my student at the Kashi Ashram, and he died just a while ago.
This is little Frankie Boy, one of the most courageous young men I've ever had the pleasure of taking care of. And this is little Jeremy, who's been this ill since he was 1 day old.
They're friends of mine, and these are my students.
They're all my students.
They're Chaylas.
They're all gone.
Every one of them are dead, more, and hundreds more than this.
This is Dennis Riley. He was 40 years old, and I was a volunteer with him through the Buddy program, and I helped him through his last year of life.
This is my former lover, Gary C., who died in October of 1989. My name is Jeffrey Garrett. I'm from Washington, D.C., and this is kind of an act of closure for me in moving on with my life, and an expression of my love for him, and to bring the message that there is love and there is hope in this disease for our community.
My name is Ed Ditterline, and this is John Perkins. We were lovers for 18 years. He died 3 days ago, and I'm really very sad.
In the 1980s, after a decade of success in changing anti-gay laws and attitudes, the gay community was faced by the sudden emergence of a new disease that seemed to affect only gay men.
At first, the community was stunned. Even gay leaders were hesitant to take action, afraid of a homophobic backlash that could erase what little political clout they'd won. But as statistics mounted and governments ignored the growing epidemic, it was lesbians and gay men who directed their anger into building the biggest, most effective health action movement in history.
AIDS has transformed gay activism, politics, and expression, and ironically, it has strengthened the movement. Through demonstrations, vigils, candles, and quilts, a community remembers those who died. As Bobby Rivers reports, those acts of remembrance strengthen the resolve to keep on fighting.
In
a barren Soho gallery, it turns slowly on its pedestal. At a distance, it is just a dress, but come closer. It is a memorial dress, printed with the names of 25,000 people who have died of AIDS. A few feet away, conceptual artist Hunter Reynolds prepares to become Patina Dupre and to bring his memorial to life, to create what he calls a transgendered figure of hope.
When I do the piece, one of the things that I want to convey to people is that I offer myself as a vehicle for healing, in which my body becomes an important aspect for people to see it not only as something about death, but also something about life.
Some keep their distance, others approach, and many share their thoughts in this book, a book from which Reynolds will draw more names, for more layers, for a dress that will continue to be a place others may come to reflect and to remember. Another month-long exhibit mourns the invisible epidemic at a time when the number of women with AIDS continues to double every 6 months. The exhibit documents how AIDS has affected the lives of women all over the world and the lives of those who love them. And at the Duo Theater in Manhattan's East Village, there was this, an all-Latino cast performing Larry Kramer's The Normal Heart.
Now, Felix, you understand your body no longer has any mechanism to fight off anything.
I'm gonna beat this, you know?
Good, that's the right attitude.
No, I mean, I'm gonna beat this. I've always been lucky.
Good.
I mean, I wanted my job at the Times and I got it. I wanted Ned and I... have I given it to him?
I don't know.
Can he catch it from me now?
We just don't know.
Did he give it to me?
And down Christopher Street, thousands march with quiet reverence to honor the dead and to support the living. It was the 10th annual AIDS Candlelight March and Vigil. Many carried yellow balloons, then released them into the sky. Yellow, the color of the sun, and the flame of our love for those we have lost. At a memorial service at the Church of St. Veronica, the Village AIDS Memorial was rededicated, the Paschal candle relighted, and then, one by one, participants carried their own candles of hope west to the Hudson for a symbolic burial at sea. I carry this candle for a 25-year-old man from Maryville, Tennessee, who fell to AIDS on June 20th, 1994. For Richard Law, your family, and I will continue the light of your kindness, your courage, your wit, and above all, your love. You changed our lives, my friend, my dearest friend.
When great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder. Lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants lumber after safety. When great trees fall in forests, small things recoil into silence, their senses eroded beyond fear. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly, our eyes briefly see with a hurtful clarity. Our memory suddenly sharpened examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, promised walks never taken. Great souls die, and our reality bound to them takes leave of us. Our souls dependent upon their nurture now shrink, wizened. Our minds formed and informed by their radiance fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to the unutterable ignorance of dark, cold caves. And when great souls die, after a period, peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. Spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses restored, never to be the same, whisper to us, they existed. They existed. We can be and be better, for they existed.
of 1978, San Francisco designer and activist Gilbert Baker was asked to create an exciting new symbol of the lesbian and gay movement for the city's upcoming Freedom Day parade. Baker chose the rainbow flag. According to Baker, a flag must transcend the personalities behind it and symbolize the community it represents.
The flag has become a symbol which has led Pride Day celebrations throughout the country for well over a decade.
The rainbow flag's bright alliance of colors represents the diversity, strength, and unity of gay and lesbians throughout the world.
Hi, I'm Alan Tulin. I'm here with tens of thousands of others in Central Park, New York City on a beautiful summer day to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Stonewall. Today we begin our second quarter century of global visibility, continued activism, and a total commitment to equal rights for all.
25 years after Stonewall, lesbians and gays are more visible and vocal than ever. As we've seen, gays and lesbians can win elections, serve on school boards, and achieve a level of respect in the workplace and in their private lives.
But while there's been much success, significant challenges remain. Even today, few governments have enacted laws preventing discrimination. Most organized religions still consider homosexuality a sin. Lesbians lose child custody battles, soldiers are drummed out of the military, gay teenagers are kicked out of their homes.
At the rally capping the Stonewall 25 events, speakers from across the globe tackle the issues still facing gays and lesbians as the gay rights movement lurches into a new millennium.
We are organizing for our lives. Today the world is watching. And our message to the world from our community is that this is not business as usual.
You must be political if you are going to be gay. That's all there is to it.
No one's rights are safe until everyone has equal rights.
I come from a time when homosexuality in all America was against the law. A time when all of our bars were straight-owned. I come from a time when dancing or kissing each other could lead to your arrest.
What happened on that first night of rioting? It's like the tale of Rashomon. Stories, perspectives, people. Here is a tiny fragment of but one. The Queens.
All right, that's enough. You're coming down to this station. Move it along!
Guess what, Miss Alice Bluegown? I'm not going in tonight.
Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Into the paddy wagons, Missy!
When they came in for their second payoff of the week, we got escorted out, and people just got tired of being screwed by the system.
The cop strikes! One that goes down!
That's it, motherfucker. I've been a good girl long enough, and now the monster has done woke up. Violence is what you want. Violence is what we're gonna use. Change was being thrown, and then the bricks, then the bottles, and then the Molotov cocktails, and the revolution was born. We are people! We are people!
The spark ignited at Stonewall has become a worldwide fire.
These freedoms we will fight for, side by side, throughout our lives, until we have won our liberty.
The Christian right thinks it's pornographic to see that done on television.
All my life I've wondered, why are they so scared of us? But I look out and I say, be scared, be very scared.
Until 25 years ago, we accepted our alleged inferiority.
If everybody you meet treats you as sick, sinful, deviant, variant, unemployable, excludable, you can very easily internalize that. We have rejected that nonsense.
I'm here, I'm queer, get over it.
It's taken me a lifetime to get here. I'm not going anywhere. Everybody say love. Everybody say love. Now drive that down to the UN.
Happy Stonewall 25! Happy birthday, dear Stonewall. Happy birthday to you.
What if they were at another bar that day? I mean, what if they were at like Fifi LaRue's? We would be commemorating the 25th anniversary of Fifi LaRue! So let us not confuse this marvelous celebration with action, but let us use its energy to motivate to action. Let us promise to each go home and every day do something that makes a difference. It begins with coming out. That is the single most important political action any gay man or lesbian can take.
So if you are still in any doubt, take my advice. Come out and make today last for the rest of your life.
Someday we'll be free. I promise you we'll be free. If not tomorrow, or the day after that, and the candles in our hand will illuminate this land. If not tomorrow, or the day after that, and the world that brings us pain, that fills our lives with fear, on the day after that, will disappear. Will disappear. And the war we fought to win, I promise you we will win. If not tomorrow, then the day after that, or 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 the day after that.
We're talking about Stonewall. Stonewall Inn, right here, site of the Stonewall riots, June 27th, 29th, 1969. Birth of the modern lesbian gay liberation movement, right here. Now, if you don't know what that means, this is what it means. We had a bunch of little happy drag queens in here, a bunch of little big dykes on motorcycles, having a good time. In come the police, and this is what the queens did. Actually, this is the start of gays and lesbians in the designer movement. They said, take that police car, put it over there. Take that policeman, throw him over there. And that is the birth of our movement.
Thank you so much, Leah. 25 years ago, gays and lesbians battled police to protest a raid at the Stonewall Inn. Today, in 1994, not only are there police providing security for those in the Stonewall 25 Pride Parade, they're also marching themselves as members of GO, which is the Gay Officers Action League. Now, I think that's fabulous. I wish you all great good luck. Wish I could be with you today, but I have to go work.
Gay police officers in the Stonewall 25 March. They're a fitting testament to just how far the lesbian and gay rights movement has come in 25 years.
The Stonewall 25 story, played out on TV, is one of enormous crowds filling up the stadiums, theaters, parks, and avenues of Manhattan. But the story behind the image is one of individuals from widely different backgrounds, coming from all over the world to claim a common history.
Those individuals have different ideas of what it means to be gay, and even what a gay rights movement is about. But for one historic week in June, they share a powerful feeling of being part of a much larger community. And that feeling of community is perhaps the greatest legacy of Stonewall. For In the Life, I'm Garrett Glaser.
And I'm Katherine Linton. Thanks for joining us.
Don't mess with Mary, she's revolutionary. Don't mess with Mary. Don't mess with Mary.
In the Life is offering home videos of the gay games and the funny tape, featuring comedy performances from Kate Clinton, Charles Bush, and Karen Williams. The Gay Games 4 tape is $19.95. The funny tape, $39.98, plus shipping and handling. Order now by calling 1-800-642-5247. Add more athletics and more comedy by having In the Life's funny tape and Gay Games 4 as part of your video library. And you will be helping In the Life continue producing quality programming for you and your friends. Call now, 1-800-642-5247. And thank you.
National Capital Benefits Corporation is pleased to have provided funding for tonight's program. While we hope our contribution has been helpful, your continued support of this series is more important.
Red ribbons cover the heart, but not expenses. People with AIDS need more than compassion. They need empowerment. Your viatical settlement from National Capital Benefits Corporation can meet that need. Our purchase of your life insurance policy gives you immediate funds to improve the quality of your care and the quality of your life. You decide your priorities, we provide the resources. It's that simple, it's that empowering. Call us at 1-800-750-3433 and see if we can be of service to you. National Capital Benefits Corporation, providing financial empowerment.
Additional support provided by the Gay and Lesbian Visitor Center of New York, The Advocate.
Now, more than ever, The Advocate commands its position as the only national news magazine for the lesbian and gay community. Empower your life with information that matters. Every 2 weeks, The Advocate delivers national and local news to your door. Gain insights on workplace and social issues, health and politics from award-winning writers. Read what famous and fascinating newsmakers, gay and straight, have to say about everything. Read all that's new in gay and lesbian arts, books, movies, fashion, and more. Seize the power of information. Subscribe now.
Additional support provided by Next Magazine. 10%.
10% marks a new era in lesbian and gay journalism. 10% is a mainstream publication that covers culture, politics, and fashion from beyond the gay ghetto. 10% neither apologizes for nor agonizes over its lesbian and gay perspective in addressing the interest, issues, and concerns of contemporary gay life. Call 1-800-873-8565 to order your subscription now for just $19.95.
Additional support provided by the H. Van Ameringen Foundation, the New York State Council on the Arts, and In the Life members nationwide.